is up, Trojan family? What's up, USC Trojan fans? Welcome to the USC LAFB show. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Thank you, as always, for making USC LAFB a part of your day. Breaking news. Had to jump on here. We did our call-in show last night. I was on with Tim and Madman. So planned on, okay, we recorded last night, take a day. Couldn't. Breaking news happens last night. Breaking news happens today in the recruiting world. We are going to get all into it. So, two commitments have happened in the last 12 hours. Two big ones. One massive one, not just because of the size of the human being, but because of what it means for the program and for the trenches, which are arguably, outside of quarterback, the most important kind of recruiting pool of players you have to add to develop, give time. Everyone knows, there's certain positions you can kind of fill through the portal that probably take less of continuity, less consistency. They can kind of just plug and play. I don't think offensive line is one of those. Now, the Trojans obviously are going to fill two starting spots this year with transfer portal players. But the goal, I think, is to get to a spot where you have 5 starters that you recruited and developed. And I think there's some really good ones in the 24 class, really good ones in the 25 class, obviously the 23 class who are going to be starting, but also in this incoming 26 class for years to come. So get into all that. First, receiver commit last night. And this, I think, guys, is a really underrated one. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this because, I was at the assistant coaches brunch yesterday. So I plan on talking a lot about that, but these, I think, are bigger news. But able to talk to, Coach Hansen, Coach Savage, Coach Belk, Coach Lynn, Coach Ryan, Coach Henney. I mean, they were all there. So all of them, everyone but Lincoln Riley was all the assistant coaches. So I was able to talk to a lot of them, got some good insights. So, I'll sprinkle in some stuff from that. But one theme across coaches, which I think should be known, is that they make their own evaluations. So they're not going off of what 24/7 Sports or what On3 or what Rivals is saying. Now, I thought it was funny. One coach said that there are programs that actually use those to recruit. I'm sure every program does their own evaluations, but he said there are programs that will legit kind of go off of that, and that's how they pursue. Like, okay, these are 24/7 Sports 5 stars. We're going to go after these, and these. USC, I'm sure, maybe bounces stuff off them. I'm not going to say for sure they don't, but the general consensus is, hey, we make our own evaluations. Look at the tape. Put the tape on. I don't care what stars they have. Can they play? Roderick Tizino Jr., wide receiver out of Louisiana. 4-star on 3, 3-star on the rest. Commits to USC, making the 4th wide receiver in this 2026 class. 6'2", 175 pounds, 42nd ranked receiver in the 26th class, according to On3 with their 4-star ranking. So he joins Trent Mosley, Jermiron Tron Baker, and Cohen Brown in this class. I spoke with, Chad Savage, inside receivers coach yesterday, and kind of loosely said that, they're hoping, this was yesterday morning, hoping to add 2 more inside receivers in this class. Now, does Tizino fit in that one? And now there's one more. Obviously, I think they knew this commitment. They probably got a verbal this weekend. It was just announced yesterday. So is there an additional 2 on top of this? How do they view Mosley and Baker and Brown? I think they can kind of, even Tizino, 6'2", 175, can play inside or outside, like has enough height to play outside. Usually when you look at pure slot guys, you're looking at kind of under that 6'1", not saying taller guys can't play it, but that's just kind of the norm. You look at the Makai Lemons, that like 5'11", 6-foot frame. I think Trent Mosley can play inside, but I think he can also play outside. So they have really a lot of versatility with these 4 receivers so far in this class. So it really depends on where they view them, which has not been disclosed. So 4 receivers, I think at the end of the day, they'll have probably 6 or 7 total in this class. You look at, he said 2 additional ones. I'm looking at this list. I think they probably have 3 inside guys and probably 3 to 4 outside guys total when this class is all said and done. Extremely productive year last year in Louisiana. 46 catches, 1,047 yards, 17 touchdowns. Love seeing guys that are touchdown machines. So, yeah, versatile guy, and this is another good get. Let me know what you guys think of the addition of Roderick Tizino Jr. But Coach Savage and Coach Simmons, who never really gets enough credit, doing a tremendous job building this receiver class with talented guys. Again, not necessarily the 5-star guys, not even necessarily top-end 4-star guys. I think Mosley is one of those top-end 4-star guys. But when you look at Baker, Brown, and now Tizino, kind of more of that middle-tier 4-star. But what they do on the field, the production they've had, and now going into their senior years, I think they're finding guys that they think can fit great within this offense. So I think it's a tremendous add, and we'll see what happens as of now. As of I'm recording, most of the staff is hitting the recruiting trail. So, Chad Savage is going to like 9 states over the next 3 weeks recruiting receivers, and he'll be in other rooms too. Coach Henney's hitting the road. The whole staff, or as many as coaches are allotted to, will be hitting the road in May for the next 3 weeks or so. And so we'll see how many more commitments come. But yeah, great start there. And then this morning, so let's transition now, because this was the big one. I don't want to take anything away from Roderick Tizino. Great addition. But this is the big one we've kind of been waiting for, right? Kenyi Pepe, IMG Academy, Bradenton, Florida, but originally from SoCal. Cousin Kobe Pepe, who they refer each other as brothers, so I'm sure you've seen some say brother, some say cousin. I think I haven't talked to their dad, Glenn, or either of them, so I don't want to be mistaken, but from what I've read, they're cousins, but, brothers. They're family. Kobe Pepe on the team. Kenyi Pepe commits officially this morning. Huge addition. This is now the 6th offensive lineman. I talked to Coach Hansen extensively yesterday. I've said this before. I think and I want to say this very respectfully, I think Josh Henson did a very good job. I think he did good recruiting. I think he was a good recruiter. I think Coach Hansen enhanced the recruiting. While he was even the tight end coach, he did aid in recruiting offensive linemen. That's been known, and he said it. That's no shade at Josh Henson. I think Coach Josh Henson did a great job last year after the bad start and after that Michigan game. The improvement to the offensive line was dramatic throughout the season. It still wasn't where it should have been, but it dramatically improved. You got to give credit to that. So I want to say this with respect and nothing seemingly throwing shade, but I think it was actually better for USC. And I don't know what the conversations were. I mean, maybe this was a push from Lincoln Riley. But it was better for USC that Henson ended up getting the offensive coordinator job at Purdue. So he moved on. And I think sliding Hanson from tight ends to the offensive line is an upgrade. Again, I'm not trying to throw shade. That's how much I respect Zach Hanson. The names are hard to say. And it gets you Chad Savage to come into the tight end and the inside receivers room. I think Chad Savage is phenomenal. So in a weird way, a coach taking a deserved promotion, to go call plays for Purdue ends up, I think, actually benefiting the Trojans. You could kind of argue on defense too. Like I loved Matt Entz. I thought Coach Entz was a phenomenal coach. The fact that you have a national title winning coach to come be a position coach, I loved him. Is Rob Ryan an upgrade? Maybe. That how these worked out is kind of insane, and that's not anything bad against Coach Entz either. But when a guy takes an upgrade, it's hard to like better yourself off. Like you try to stop the bleeding, and I think the Lincoln Riley has done a really nice job. We talked about it a little bit last night on the live of making hires with kind of a succession plan in place. So like and I'm getting in the weeds here. We'll talk Pepe, don't worry. But like if Dan Lynn next year, I don't think Dan Lynn's going anywhere else in college. I think if he stays in college, he's good with USC. The only one I would have feared was Penn State, and USC was able to stave that off. So I don't think he's going anywhere in college. The question will be if the pros come calling. If the NFL comes calling, I would not be surprised if Dan Lynn goes. So the succession plan, like if Dan Lynn goes, Well, then you have either Rob Ryan or Coach Belk or Coach Henney that can then become the defensive coordinator. I think any of those three would be great. Now, Coach Henney has the co-DC title, so I think he's the most natural to take the full role. But Coach Belk has been a DC. Obviously, Rob Ryan has been a DC. So either of those guys could. If Coach Belk, let's say, gets a DC offer next year, which I think he will. He could have gotten some this year. We just didn't hear about him. Who knows? But he's a phenomenal coach, one of the top recruiters in the country. Love talking to Coach Belk every time I get a chance. He's just so insightful and such a great communicator. If he goes, well, Trayvon Reed then can slide in to that secondary side. So anyway, I'm saying they did a good job of when guys left, they almost upgraded, and then they've planned for the future if guys do get promoted, which shows a healthy program. Like, you want your guys to get opportunity, but they've put in plans in place that whoever can replace, you're not like starting over or totally having to restructure things. So anyway, I got off on a huge tangent because I was talking about Coach Hansen, and I just think it's an upgrade at the offensive line coach position. A dude that played tackle at Kansas State, coached offensive line in various roles with Kansas State, ends up being the O-line coach at Tulsa. So naturally, offensive line is where he should be. And so I think he's a great teacher and coach of the position, but then recruiting obviously is huge. And let's make sure we give our flowers to Coach Dog, who has been, his title is actual with high school relations, essentially. So with, the high schools and with the recruits and building relationships, and he's been unbelievable. I mean, he's the secret weapon. Chad Broden gets all the credit, as he should. Chad Broden, fantastic. But Coach Dog is a huge part of this, especially with the Poly kids, which Kenny Pepe is. And you look at these resurgence of Poly commitments. Coach Dog is a huge reason of that, but Coach Hansen was a huge factor in this commitment for Pepe. So I've talked about him before. We have plenty of articles, so I don't need to go into the measurables a ton, but just quickly here. 5th ranked overall offensive tackle, according to On3's industry ranking. I think some have him. I think 24/7 has him as high as 3rd overall tackle. But 5-star, 6'7", 6'6", 6'7", 325 pounds. Massive human being. This is, surprisingly, this is the first 5-star offensive tackle since Austin Jackson. All the way back in, what class was he? Sorry guys, I don't have it in front. I wasn't planning to talk about it. I just remember it came to my head. 2016-ish, in the teens somewhere. So the first 5-star offensive tackle in nearly a decade. Or maybe it was a decade. Maybe it was the 2015 class. It was somewhere in there. I know someone will comment and correct me. So thank you. So not only are you now have 6 offensive linemen in this class, not only is it a 5-star, top 5 at the position in the entire class, not only is it the size and pedigree of what you're building on the offensive line to be sustainable in the Big Ten, not only are you reestablishing the Poly connection, but also the SoCal and LA connection. I know he plays at IMG, but from Southern California, families, Southern California. You're doing all of those things in one by getting one player. And I think that is what's been so powerful kind of about this resurgence of recruiting in this 2026 class in general, is not only you're getting really good players, not only are you reestablishing what USC should be, but you're connecting all these other segments. You're checking all these other boxes that have been lacking for really the last 10 to almost 20 years. And so now you get all of these things in one with one class that you can absolutely sustain and build upon. So I know mostly when I do these, I'm talking recruiting. Soon here, we'll talk a lot more about this iteration because you got to win in 25 to keep the momentum. And I think they will. And I've said it a few times, but we'll dedicate more time to that as we get into the summer and fall. But this Kenny Pepe commitment is just, I think it's a massive one. I said, was it last week? When Cody Green, which some rankings have him like one above Pepe, some have him one below Pepe. They're both right by each other. When Cody Green flipped from Oregon to Washington, because USC was pushing hard to flip Green, and would have been a great flip. But when he flipped, I said, okay, this now basically opens the door for an all-out blitz for Pepe. And I would be shocked if Pepe does not end up at USC. Would have loved Cody Green, so I'm not saying that wasn't a loss to not flip him. Who knows? Maybe they'll still pursue him. But it kind of did, and I'm not saying they have the resources now and the staff now to go all out on a lot of guys. But it really allowed them to hone in fully on Pepe and make sure he was their number one target on the offensive line moving forward. So I saw my buddy USCJ. I'm sure many of you know USCJ. Dude's awesome. Love him. I haven't seen this anywhere yet, but I saw him say on his show that he's shutting down his recruitment, or at least his title was that. I didn't get a chance to watch it. Been a busy morning. But his title was he shut down his recruitment as well. If that's true, that's huge because he's a guy that, obviously heavily pursued by every program in the country and probably has, official visits lined up. And so if you're able to just shut that down and, lock it in, that's only going to bode well. Yeah, he has official visits on May 30th for Miami, June 6th for Florida, June 13th for Georgia, and then June 17th for USC. So I will work to confirm that. That, again, just popped in my head. If he did shut his recruitment down, then obviously those visits will be canceled, which is a huge win for USC. Because the last thing you want is then him going to these schools and, then you start thinking, that, we all do. Doesn't mean that he's going to flip, but it's much less likely or basically guaranteed he won't if their recruitment shut down. So I'll look to confirm that. Again, I didn't watch Jay's show. Sorry, Jay. Haven't been able to watch it yet. I'll probably watch it later. You jumped on live a little before me. But I saw that was your headline. So hopefully that's the case. But let me know what you guys think. I mean, two big commitments again. Brings the class up to 25 total commitments. They are now officially the number one class across all rankings. They've been number one in 24/7 rivals, ESPN, but now officially on 3. Bumps then to number one as well. Last thing I'll say, and we'll get out of here. There's a lot of chatter, which I have heard, and many of you probably have too, but more are coming, I think, this week. Potentially another one tomorrow. I think Albert Hill is really close. He got a crystal ball prediction last week, 2 weeks ago maybe now. One of the top corners in the country out of Ohio. He could be one maybe announcing. You have, Luke Weaver, another really good receiver from right here in Southern California from Sherman Oaks. He is another one, 4-star that potentially commits soon. I'm looking down my list of other, there's so much momentum right now. I don't think Ryder Lyons is happening yet. Obviously, we've talked about recently how he's been predicted now to choose SC, but I don't think that's happening yet. Talanoa Ely could be happening soon. I don't know if it's going to be this week. So the ones to watch, I think, are Albert Hill, the modern-day receiver, Dixon Wyatt. He's announcing this week his commitment. So I know USC's in his final, so that could be. Yeah, more momentum's coming. Obviously, hop on here as soon as it does. But those are the names I'd keep an eye on for the rest of this week, and we'll see. I know Sean Alston, one of the big, top running back, committed to SC. He's a big advocate. He talked about, not the end of the week yet. I think he tweeted out. It's not even the end of the week yet, and so that kind of gets the rumor mill pumping with Albert Hill since they're both Ohio kids. But it's great. I mean, being in the building yesterday, being in John McKay Center yesterday, hanging out with a lot of the coaches, I can't remember the last time the momentum was like this. And you need it to carry over onto the field, obviously. Have to win this season. Got to win 9 games. 8, you'd still be okay, but this roster's good enough with this schedule to win 9, 10 games. In my mind, no doubt. We'll talk more about that throughout the summer, but But the momentum is real. It's absolutely real. And in the time I've covered the team, I've never seen it like this. The closest it was to this was right when Lincoln Riley was hired, for obvious reasons. I mean, the program was dead. Clay Helton was fired. They finished the season rough. And then you were able to steal Lincoln Riley away from Oklahoma, get Caleb Williams over. So heading into that year, that was the closest it felt. But that was just like hope, momentum, right? Like, all right, we got a quality coach. We've got a good quarterback. Now we can start to build. So that was like a hope momentum. It's weird to talk about a 7-win team with more momentum than just hope momentum. But I'm telling you, it's real. It feels different. The schedule permits them to start the season well off, stack some wins early. Remember, last year, for all the issues of last year, you open against LSU on neutral site, and you go to the Big House in week 3. You got to win those games. I'm not saying USC's like, that's unfair. But that's a tough way to open your season. That's not happening this year. They get kind of the SEC treatment this year with a couple cupcakes to open the season. Really, even their Big Ten schedule opens easy. I mean, this team should ease. I never like to say easy, but is fully capable to open the year 6-0. And then how they do it will be telling. Because remember, in 23, they opened the year 6-0. And they finished, 7-5? So there was a lot of signs in that season of like, okay, they're 6-0, but how good are they? We'll see this fall. But anyway, momentum's real. It's great. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know about these commitments. Let me know who you think is coming next. I think I would bet a good amount of money that we'll hear of another one by the end of this week. So 3 this week total. Again, coaches are all going to be out in recruiting this month of May for the next 3 weeks. Coach Savage said he was getting on a plane like today. Coach Belk. So more commitments could be coming here in the coming weeks. Again, the goal for this class is 35. They're at 25 now. Let's see how this thing rides out. It's gonna be fascinating. It's gonna be fun, and I think, it's a fun team to cover right now. So thank you guys as always. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you have not already. It helps us all out. Me, myself, Madman, Tim, all of us here at LAFB. If you prefer audio, we do have this on audio. Apple, Spotify, just search Salute to Troy, wherever you get your podcasts. And everything, all of our USC coverage, all of my articles that I write, painstakingly write, that hopefully some of you read, can all be found at LAFBnetwork.com. Appreciate you guys always. And as always, fight on.